stand in my way. Nothing can stop my progress. Tall trees fall aside, every bramble I slash with the sword of freedom. Tall trees fall aside, every bramble I slash with the sword of freedom.
Okay. Got it? Okay, everybody has to stand. And remember to go one side, so you'll all go to your right so you don't run into each other. Okay. We'll do it twice.
Move all ye mountains that stand in my way, nothing can stop my progress. Move all ye mountains that stand in my way, nothing can stop my progress. Tall trees fall aside, every bramble I slash with the sword of freedom. Tall trees fall aside, every bramble I slash with the sword of freedom. Move all ye mountains that stand in my way, nothing can stop my progress. Move all ye mountains that stand in my way, nothing can stop my progress. Tall trees fall aside, every bramble I slash with the sword of freedom. Tall trees fall aside, every bramble I slash with the sword of freedom.
Yay! Good job!
Welcome everyone to Sunday service, and welcome those of you that are viewing this online. Thank you. My name is Jivan, and this is Swami Dharmadas, and we're happy to be able to spend Sunday service with you today. I don't think it was covered. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. Thank you. Today's topic is titled, How Democratic is Truth? This is from Rays of the One Light, weekly commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita, written by Swami Kriya-yoga, based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. We live in an age when people assume that knowledge should be available equally to all. In matters susceptible of judgment by normal common sense, however, everyone knows there are exceptions. Access to a control room for intercontinental missiles is limited by universal consent to a very few. Access to the controls of a passenger airliner is limited to those with the necessary knowledge for operating them, and also to those with the proper authorization. If people don't see the disadvantages of making more subtle knowledge universally available, it is only because they are ignorant of the risks involved. In the case of subtle knowledge, the main disadvantage in making it universally available is the harm it might do to one who isn't ready for it, and who might even mock it. True, by mocking truth, he might undermine the faith of a few truth seekers, but then such tests can also be beneficial as a means of strengthening faith. Again, true, the clever doubter's misrepresentation of those truths may dissuade a few seekers from following the spiritual path, but if a seeker really is sincere, he will recognize the truth eventually because it resonates with his own being. No, the greatest problem accrues to the shallow doubter himself. To give him an opportunity to affirm his ignorance might only estrange him even more from the truth, delaying the time when he will turn, as all people must eventually, to the light. Thus the scriptures advise not secrecy, but discretion in the sharing of truth. Jesus Christ says in the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 7, "Give not that which is unholy, which is holy unto dogs, neither cast ye your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet, and turn again and rend you." And Sri Krishna says in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, "Never speak of these truths to one who is without self-control or devotion, who renders no service, who does not care to hear, or who speaks ill of me." Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
From Whispers from Eternity by Paramhansa Yogananda. These are prayer demands. Mother Divine, the brave may laugh as they pass among flying bullets, though death threatens with each one. I laugh, however, because whether I am floating on the surface of this present life or sinking beneath the waves of death, I rest forever in thy protecting, omnipresent, eternal life, held safely forever in thy immortal arms. This passage from Rays of the One Light is colorful and a little bit fun. Christ is delivering a little dose of his sense of humor to people with a bit of vigor, a little bit of mustard on it. Cast not thy pearls before swine. And it reminds me of a story of my own life, from my own life, and I hesitate to share this because I don't want to insinuate that it's swine who are involved particularly, but when I first got on the path, I was fairly fizzing with the enthusiasm of youth and the enthusiasm of the path itself, and I really wanted to share it with everybody. And I was writing letters to all my relatives, and I, just was on fire, you can say, which was all very well and fine, and it went over beautifully. And the first little bits of things that I sent to people beyond the letters, like for example, I sent my dad I think he called it True Happiness Is. And it was basically the text of the little book that he wrote, Secrets of Happiness, but it was just on a little card. It was a very simple, it wasn't even made up in book form. It was just almost like a bookmark. And I sent that to my dad. I sent him what was then kind of a pamphlet or a booklet, Secrets of Leadership, or what later became The Art of Supportive Leadership before it was really a full-blown book. And he loved that too. So I thought, he's interested. This is where I and the reading diverged because a little discretion would have shown me that he was interested in what he was interested in, but he wasn't interested in what I was interested in. So then I followed all of that up by sending him The Path, Autobiography of a Yogi, Letters to Truth Seekers, and probably something else too. I mean, for all I know, maybe I was dumb enough to send, your sun sign as a spiritual guide or something else. Anyway, whatever it was, I did not hear from my dad. I heard from the minister of the church that I grew up in. And needless to say, it was not a very affirmative letter. It was, well, we believe that tum-ty-tum-ty-tum, and how can, so, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It was like, ah. And I was offended, and I was morally outraged, and I was this, that, and the other thing. And I started mentally composing a letter that was going to be steaming hot. and then I realized, this is going nowhere. I very much respected that minister. I grew up in that church and, felt respect for him and his role and what he did. And I didn't agree with what he was writing at all. And I wasn't, and I thought about going point by point and trying to answer his concerns. And then I just thought, it's not going to get anywhere. He's dedicated his life to a certain way of looking at things, and leave it pass. And I can safely say that it took almost 25 years for my dad to untangle and get more interested. He never achieved real interest, but he achieved acceptance, which prior to that he did not have. And so it's interesting to me how Swamiji addresses this topic, because he said that he himself had struggled with spiritual doubt. And so when he writes these words, he's writing from his own authority, from his own actual knowledge, his own actual experience of dealing with subtle truth that comes too soon and someone makes fun of it, or someone isn't ready for it, someone isn't interested in it, someone doesn't have the devotion, doesn't render service, speaks ill of me, or simply does not want to hear. And what struck me is that most people, most of the time, think about themselves and what they want, what they're interested in, what they like, what makes them happy, and that's an end to it right there. It's not as if it expands more. And so then it occurred to me, and again, this is actually from my experience, our experience on the path for nearly 50 years, that when people experience heart awakening, when the heart's natural love begins to awaken and open up, what's the first thing that happens for most people? They latch on to another human being and say, you are what I love in this world, which is all very wonderful because it perpetuates the species and life continues and it goes on like that. But for most people, that's as far as it reaches. It reaches, and Yogananda had a colorful phrase for this. This was more rooted in the 1930s in America because it was the Depression era. But the attitude that he ran into was us four and no more. Meaning mom, dad, and 2 kids. That's it. Our little bubble of joy, happiness, attachment extends this far and no farther. And Master was trying to create spiritual community. And I think people sort of looked and it was like, what? You want to do what? And why would I want to do that? And I mean, I even remember my dad asking me, why would you want to live this way? And it was like, I remember thinking, why wouldn't you want to live this way? But it was not an obvious segue. It's like, no, but I mean, I'm dedicated to me and my life and my happiness and my this and, I, my, me, mine comes from a song of Swamiji's. And that's most people most of the time. So to expand beyond that, and I bring this up because I was reflecting on this very intriguing juxtaposition of concentration with how democratic is truth. I mean, obviously the answer to the question is not very. because we don't vote truth into existence. It exists. We attune ourselves or not and suffer the consequences or enjoy the blessings thereof. But how does concentration fit into the picture? What strikes me is, what do we concentrate on? Swami hints at this in the reading about concentration. We concentrate on our heart's desire. And if our heart's desire is something tangible, we focus enormous we can focus enormous energy on that. In fact, we concentrate on whatever is in our heart, because that's where our attention goes. But for most people, that's kind of a weather vane spinning around in the wind. And so it's like we just are all over the place. Once our heart is dedicated and grows into that desire for something bigger than us for and no more, bigger than I, my, me, mine, then we can experience love for God, which is the most relishable, as he was saying in the prayer after the affirmation. And it's the most natural thing. But who falls in love with God? You know, Hollywood does not hold up as an ideal. Oh, let's all go fall in love with God. Oh my goodness, what an amazing thing that would be. It's like, no, I don't think so. I remember a movie that Swami appreciated very much, a very unusual movie, Death Takes a Holiday. And it comes from the 1930s, and it's this very unusual story because death appears as a person in the story, and he's this prince. As it happens, he's a prince who is no longer in the world, but death takes his form with all his medals and all his fancy clothing and so forth. And he appears in this very lovely palatial home in Italy and goes through this whole little drama with the family, and only one of whom immediately knows who he is and is not allowed to reveal that he's there. He's the prince so-and-so, and he's there to enjoy human life for a few days while he takes his holiday. And while he takes his holiday, nobody dies in the whole world. And it's like, you know, some bomb explodes, but nobody dies, and a ship sinks, but everybody's rescued, and you know, it's like all building tips over, but everybody's okay, and you know, it's like the news is going crazy because this impossible thing is happening. But there's this one young woman who kind of sees through him, and he invites her to come with him, and the family are like, they're shocked and horrified. And they even, you know, and then he finally does reveal himself to all of them, and they're so scared of him and the situation, and they're saying to him, but if you take her, that's death to us. And he says, you have no idea. You know, and he says, I can't even put words around what she will experience. She wants to go with him. She sees who he is. She's fallen in love with him, and it's like, no, this will be fine. And that's as near as Hollywood could ever get to the subject. It's like, oh, death takes a holiday, and some young woman, you know, decides to fall in love with him and go off with him. But that's what most people think falling in love with God would be, is like, oh no, that's just, he's the guy up at the top of the Sistine Chapel, you know, reaching down, and there's about to be a spark of life or whatever, but he's like, oh, he's far, far away. And for the most part, he's damning the damned, and, you know, a few of the morose-looking saints are over off on the side, knowing that at least they're not going to be stuck in hell for eternity, but, you know, nobody looks terribly happy about any of it. And that's what people think. It's like this namby-pamby sort of Pollyanna spirituality. When you look at this actual saints, it's one of the reasons I wanted to sing this chant that we seldom do, "Oh my saint," because if we think, you get up in the morning, you go and look in the mirror, and you know, and you think, "Oh my saint, wake yet wake." well, I'm not really quite awake yet, as it happens, but we don't think of ourselves in that way. And if we ever did, it would be probably wrong in a different sort of way. Oh, I'm a saint. We would feel a little too proud of it. In fact, there's an interesting story that I had never heard of Master. One of the disciples was talking about his spiritual experiences, which were quite profound. And there was a little group of them there, and Master was there. And Master heard this and said, "Oh, that's very good. Pretty soon you'll be walking on water." And the man said, "Really, Master?" He said, "Well, it might be better if you learn to walk properly on land first." And everybody laughed, including the disciple. The point being, put your feet on the ground and learn to live in this world in a proper way. Develop your devotion and if you end up having to walk on water or being able to walk on water, fine and wonderful. But don't look for don't yearn for those kinds of experiences, because that's a sideshow. That's not the point of the spiritual life. So what we concentrate on is what our heart opens to and focuses on. And if that is God, or that is one of the spiritual qualities, peace and calmness, love and joy, etc., then we dive into that experience. That can become a daily experience. It doesn't have to be something that's off in the clouds. It can be, for us, a daily experience of life. Let's live in that state of inner freedom.
Thank you, Dharmadas. I've often, this quote from Christ about throwing pearls before swine, I often thought of this, and it almost kind of sounds like he's giving a insult to those who aren't ready to hear spiritual teachings. But I don't think that's what Christ is doing. I think it's more of he's giving us an analogy here that the pigs, if you throw pearls in front of them, they don't know what they are. They have no idea how to understand the value and the precious quality that the pearls are, and they'll just walk over them. And why? Because of ignorance. They're just ignorant of what that is. They're ignorant of the pearls of wisdom is what we're talking about here. And ignorance is an interesting thing, because it's not something that's either you're ignorant or you're not, right? There's levels of ignorance. It's sort of a continuum. And we're all here, so we must have some amount of ignorance, or it wouldn't be adorning this world, We'd be in some other one. And so we're all working on it in some way or another. And those that are would really reject spiritual teachings, they might have a certain amount of ignorance that we could qualify or quantify. There's an interesting, quote we often hear, which is that night to the worldly man is day to the yogi, and vice versa. And part of the reason for that is, as Dharmadas was sort of alluding to there, took the words out of my mouth, no, and it's what was in our raised reading today. I'm sorry, in the concentration reading, which is that that which we really love is what we concentrate on naturally, and what everything we focus on, and what we gear our life towards, and so forth. And so if we're really focused on the worldly things, then that's what we're going to be geared towards, and our ego is going to be empowered by those things. And anything that then goes against that is going to be anathema to what we want, what we think we want, at least. And for the yogi, there's a different perspective. It's interesting how Yogananda wrote in a book, The Science of Religion, which Swami Kriyananda rewrote as what is it? God is for everyone. And in it, he explains that the simple principles that everybody can pretty much agree on, that we're all trying to get away from pain and suffering, and we're all trying to find happiness and joy. Everybody's doing that, and we're doing it in different ways oftentimes, but that's what we're seeking. And the more ignorance that we have, the more we're seeking it in the wrong things. But it's that that's why the night is for the worldly man what the day is to the yogi. Wanted to give us an example here. Imagine that you broke your leg, and everybody, most people would think, there's some accident, you broke your leg, would think that's a bad thing. Well, why is it a bad thing? Well, you're experiencing pain and suffering. We're trying to get away from pain and suffering, right? And you're going to have to get a cast on. There's going to be an inconvenience. You're going to have to deal with all of that. You're going to have to walk around with the cast, and then you're going to have to go through rehabilitation probably, and that's going to take a lot of time and energy, and that's not a good thing. That's something that most people would say, that's bad, breaking your leg. But the yogi has a much larger perspective on life and on the things that happen to us. And the yogi thinks, well, this world is designed. This world was created by God to help me to find Him. This world was created so that I could grow and learn and purify my consciousness. And how do we do that? We do that by working out karma, by raising our energy, by working on our willpower, by getting stronger, by refining our consciousness, and all of these things. And so the yogi might look at that broken leg, and if they're looking at it in the right way, would say, well, yes, there's pain and suffering, but it's making me raise my energy. It's helping me to overcome karma. And if it's a lot of pain and suffering, then I'm probably working out a good chunk of karma, and that's helping me get closer to God. And the yogi understands everything that comes to us is ours. It couldn't come to us. That's the law of karma. Everything that comes to us is ours. If we're experiencing it, it's meant for us. It's meant for us to go through it. Sri Gyanamata, Yogananda's foremost woman disciple, put it this way. She said, what's not yours, you will never have, though you go to the ends of the earth to find it. And what's yours, you won't be able to get away from, even you hide in the deepest, darkest cave. What's ours will come to us, no matter what. And it might come in different forms. You say, well, if I make this other decision, if I go here instead, it'll come in some form or another. It's not like it's written that, oh, now you're going to break your leg. It's more like magnetism. You throw a bunch of magnets out on a piece of paper. They're all going to kind of get attracted in different ways because of the law of magnetism. And that's a simplistic example. It's much more complex with karma and all these things. But we're drawn into certain circumstances, and certain things are drawn to us because of what we put out in the past and the way we're acting now and what we're thinking and our attitudes and all of that. So when whatever comes to us, we have that broken leg, well, it's a lesson. And isn't it wonderful to be able to learn our lessons? Yogananda said, an easy life is not a victorious life. And I've thought about that. I think, boy, what a shame. Those who are born into a house where they're just like uber rich, right? And they're just set for life, and they don't really have to put out any energy or do anything. Like they're just got, their parents' money, and they can just live on it. I think what a shame, because how easy it would be to just waste your life and not have to put out any energy, not have to strive for anything, not have to challenge yourself. What a shame that is. And what a blessing it is when God tests us and challenges us and makes us raise our energy, because that's the only way we grow. That's the only way we realize, oh, that's the ego. That's the only way we realize what's there that we need to work on and overcome. If someone hits you in the face, how do you respond? Most people would say, if you ask them that question, they'd say, well, I might get upset, I might get irritated, I might feel resentful, I may feel hurt, or indignant, And most people would agree with that. They'd say, well, yeah, you have a right to do that. That's a good response, And we're conditioned by these things. We often don't even realize it, but we respond or we react in some way, and we're just conditioned by our family and our culture and our friends and our mentors to respond a certain way. We've already had it in our mind. You ask them, how would you respond? Right away, I would get upset. We've already set that condition out for ourselves. So how can we react any other way? We've already decided. We've already made the decision. The reaction is just a consequence of everything playing out as we've already decided it should. But the key and the why these teachings are here to help us is that we can change how we condition our consciousness, what we create for ourselves. All these self-definitions, we can change them. If someone hits you in the face, you can decide right now that I won't react with negative emotion. I will try to see what's trying to happen. Why did the person do that? Maybe there's a reason, right? What's trying to happen? How can there be the highest, most expansive good can come from this? And that's how we should think in everything that we do. Before we react, we should think, what's trying to happen here? How can I respond? So that part of that I was speaking about of ignorance, I was thinking about it recently, and it's realizing that, well, if I'm here, I must still have some ignorance to work on. And I've personally just been dealing with stuff lately and struggling with different things in myself, and it doesn't matter what it is, but it's really just the ego in one form or another. And how do I know it's the ego? I know because I'm suffering. It says in the Festival of Light, pain, which we can think of as pain or suffering, pain is the fruit of self-love, whereas joy is the fruit of love for God. And it occurred to me, I'm thinking of myself. And all of the things that are of the ego, all of those, likes and dislikes, those conditions we put out that if this happens, I'm not going to like it. We want this and we don't want that to happen. We like this, we don't like that. In all the various things, and think about all the conditions you've put out in your life that then the world can just affect you in some way or another that you don't even have control over anymore. But I was reflecting on that. It's the ego. It's the ego that I need to work on. And what is it? Joy is the fruit of love for God. I was thinking too much about myself and not enough about God. And it was the ignorance that I was focused in the wrong way. I was focused on the wrong things that was causing me to suffer, causing me to misunderstand, right? Someone hits you in the face, you start getting upset and think of all the reasons why they shouldn't, instead of, well, what's going on with them? Why are they doing that? What's the best way that can have the most expansive result in all of this? And it's interesting, Krishna's counsel to us when he's saying, don't offer this to someone without self-control. Don't offer these teachings without devotion, who doesn't render service, doesn't care to hear, speaks ill of me. He's saying these teachings shouldn't be given to those who lack these things. But the opposite is true as well, that the more we acquire these things, the deeper we can understand the truth that God is trying to give us. So, self-control. And this can be applied in many different ways, but it's really being able to control ourselves to do what's right for ourselves, right? And not react, but respond. To control the reactive process. To control ourselves to not do the instant gratification, but instead have that larger view I'm not going to do this thing that's easy to do. I'm going to do what's a little harder, but better for me in the long run. And that's what the yogi really has to work on to be able to get anywhere on the spiritual path. To be able to sit down and meditate takes a lot of self-control and energy. Devotion, we often talk about devotion as such an important part of the path, but we can always deepen our devotion. And it's very important for us to continue to work on trying to deepen our heart's feeling for God, trying to deepen how much we love God. Because as it was saying in that reading of concentration, the more we love, the more we will focus. And then, as Master said, the path is difficult at first, but then effortlessly liberating. Because the more we love God, the easier it is to focus and the deeper we can go. And then it is effortlessly liberating because then we feel God's presence and it's just natural. It's just a natural process. Service, of course. Again, that goes along with what I was saying before. The more we serve and think of others and think of what we can do and how we can help, the less we're thinking of ourselves. It's a natural, easy way to get out of the ego and the trap of the ego. And then, does not care to hear, we can think of that as indifference. And we think, well, for the yogi who's really dedicating their life to God, what does that mean? Well, it can mean getting into habits where we're doing things by rote. We sit down and we go through the meditation. We say, Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, dear friend, beloved God, and we're not doing it with a presence of mind and awareness. It's not indifferent. We're not being indifferent per se. We're going through the prayer, but we're not doing it with our full awareness and our concentration. And then speaks ill of me. For the yogi, again, too, we think that's on a subtler, it's more about doubt and a lack of faith, which are so important on the path. When I'm struggling and feeling that my ego is getting in the way, it often comes down to, and I realize, a lack of faith. Because if I had more faith, I would say, oh, well, this is all in God's plan. Why be upset about it? Why get caught in it? And if I had more faith, I'd be thinking of God and drawing on God's presence in whatever's happening, instead of feeling some distance from God. So it's so important for us to not just see these things and understand them intellectually, but to work on actively deepening them within ourselves, within our hearts, in our consciousness, because we can always go deeper. And we know that because if we haven't gotten there yet, we can always go deeper. We can always go deeper. So go deep in your life with God and feel His presence in everything you do. God bless you.
Please take what you would like to offer and hold it in your right hand. And pray with me. Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
we offer to Thee
we offer to Thee
the fruit of our labors.
the fruit of our labors.
May it serve to spread
May it serve to spread
Thy message of self-realization
Thy message of self-realization
to truth-seeking souls everywhere.
to truth-seeking souls everywhere.
Om. Peace.
Peace.
Amen.
We'll sing Truth Can Never Die now. Go On Alone. I always want Shami's changed the title of this song on the last year of his life. have the Festival of Light now. And think of this as a different kind of music. This is music in spoken words, but the poetry and the message of the path can resonate very deeply within us if we take it within.
Let us lift up our hearts in a festival of light. The essence of this ceremony has been passed down from ancient